Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again, going for a walk with my trusty bike through the woods in the Suffolk area of the UK, and doing what I do, which is I walk through beautiful locations such as this, and I give my thoughts and opinions on things that are happening in the world and the public consciousness, and I share that with you all. So if it's your first time here, welcome. This is what I do. If you're a returning subscriber, all 773 today, I think it is, welcome back. It is an honor and a privilege to have so many people join me for these walks and talks. So thank you one and all for being here. Really appreciate it. Now, for those of you who caught the interview I did with Michael Jeunesse from NASA, thank you very much for watching. I really enjoyed, as I always do, speaking with Michael. He's a gentleman and a scholar, and it's always great to catch up with him. We get along really well. We don't agree on everything. Of course we don't, because I'm a full-blown conspiracy theorist and he is a scientist at heart. He's a spaceman by his own admission. And, you know, we have these discussions, and I bring these, I like to bring people on that we're not necessarily going to agree on everything, but that's the whole point. We need to have conversations and start conversations with people, because we're never going to agree on everything, but we should be able to have conversations and be polite and not argumentative. And I've had some messages from people saying to me, you know, why would you have a NASA person on? NASA's full of shit. But that's not what it's about. If you're confrontational and you're aggressive towards people when they come on to you and you're interviewing them, then they're never going to come back. And what's the point of that? You're never going to win people over. You're never going to win friends and influence people by being aggressive and nasty. Just ask people on Facebook. They know. Trust me, they know. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed. We have another one coming up, and that one's going to be very different. We're going to be talking aliens, interdimensional travel, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So stick with me, and I think you'll probably like what's coming up. So, but thank you for being here today. So today, we're going to touch on another science subject, and that science subject is called epigenetics. Now, I went and I wrote down what epigenetics is, so that I can make sure that I'm speaking for clarity from the description from the CDC's own website, okay? Epigenetics is the study of how behaviors and environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work. Unlike genetic changes, epigenetic changes are reversible and do not change your DNA, but they can change how your body reads a DNA sequence. So, knowing that, we're going to be talking about epigenetics today and how that affects you and what it all means and how it all ties together with everything else I've talked about on this channel and all the different subjects I speak about. So thank you for being here, and let's get into it. So epigenetics. Now, afternoon, how are we doing? Good. Just walking along talking to myself in the forest. Hello, puppy.
Come on.
So epigenetics. Epigenetics is the study of how environment influences how your DNA reads. Okay, so let me break that down and see if I can clarify that as best as my knowledge can do, because I'm not a scientist. I don't study epigenetics. I read about lots of different subjects, and I try and understand it from a perspective of where I am and how I can integrate that into my life, that knowledge, that knowing, that understanding, and how I can integrate that and how I can share that message with you all in a positive note. Because today, I think is a very positive, positive outcome, a positive influence of the message I'm sharing today. And you'll understand when I get to the end of this, hopefully, if I do it right. So if epigenetics is the study of your environment behaviors that can influence your DNA. So if we break that down, we say that you have genetic markers. Okay, so let's just say that you're genetically disposed, or you're genetically you have cancer in your system. In your family, you have cancer. So there's a possibility that you could get cancer in your life. Okay? So you have those genetic markers that say that you could. But based on environment behaviors, decides whether that genetic marker is going to be turned on or turned off. So you could get cancer, or you might not, based on how your environment, your behavior is. So if we look, all the things that I've been speaking about, environment and pollution and all these kind of things, where does all this stuff come from? Right? We've been told that we are the problem, you and me. We're the problem, that we fly too much, we drive too many cars, and we've used too much fuel, and we're polluting the planet. Now, is that the truth? Is it? Well, we're going to break that down as well. So we see lots of problems around us. Of course we do. We can't help but see it because it's constantly drummed into us every moment of every hour of every day, through politics, through the media, through every single avenue. Friends and family want to beat you down. Every single place that you go, you have these messages of you're destroying the planet, you're a bad person. All these messages that we get constantly are there to make you feel a particular way. How many positive messages do you get in your day from news? Do you get any positive messages at all? Do you have any uplifting things through your news or through the media? Is there anything uplifting in it, or is it all negative? The world's going to end. The climate change, whatever it is, the thing we're not allowed to talk about, it's all negative, and it's all designed that way to keep you in a negative fear state. Now, why is that? And I've constantly asked myself, why is the world, or why does it seemingly in such a bad state that we are perpetually fearful, scared, and made to feel that way? And by whom? So in this examination of me asking these questions and all this whole series of what I do, all these talks, it all leads to the same thing. It is an influence on us for a reason. But who is it? Who's doing it and why? That's the thing I keep coming back to. Now, let me break it down a little bit further. So if you think in terms of, let's start with the environment, okay? The environment and climate change. We're told that there's too many pollutants. We're polluting the planet, and in doing so, through living, we are going to wipe out the species, and we're going to destroy the earth, and that's going to be the end of us all, right? That's the messages we get. In 10 years, if we don't do something, it's all over. But how has this all come about? How is it that we've got to this place where we've had this massive build-up of carbon dioxide, as we're told, is the big problem? But how is that? How is it that we've got to this point where we have these massive oil spills, and how do we have all these environmental damage, trees constantly being cut down, the rainforests are being felled, all these problems that we are constantly confronted with? How did that come to be? Are we responsible for that, like you and me? Are we the ones that are doing that? Of course we're not, or some amongst us, maybe they're working a job that actually cuts down those trees, but very few of us, I would think, and probably I would say none of my audience, because we're aware of our world, this reality that we live in, if you want to call it that. But how do we get here? Who's really responsible for this? We don't cut down the trees, but we have these governments that we apparently elect. Apparently we do. To govern us, because we need to be governed. Govern me harder, Daddy. They're supposed to be there to represent us, represent our needs and our wants of the countries that we elect them to. So the Prime Minister of this country is elected to look out for the needs of the British people. The same in Australia, the Prime Minister is elected to look out for the needs of the Australian public. The American president is there, well, we're not entirely sure what that guy's there for, that Brandon administration, that joke of an administration, and that other thing that he's got as a vice president, not sure what that is. But he's there to, or supposedly, to look after the needs of the American people. But what we see increasingly is corporate interests are running these governments that we're supposed to be, or that are supposed to be serving us, that are supposed to be running the countries that we vote them in to run. But you know, what I see a lot is these corporate interests are controlling that. And Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales here in the United Kingdom, his mother, the Queen, is apparently on her last legs, or off her legs actually. She's in the hospital not far away from passing from this world. Apparently, just happening. And Prince Charles has even come out and said the corporate interests, we need to invest trillions of dollars, trillions of pounds, and sidestep governments, the corporations do, to make sure that we are on track to build back better. Okay, so the corporate interests are the ones who are drilling the oil. The corporate interests are the ones who are felling the forests. The corporate interests are the ones who control what technology we use. So these corporate interests who are running their governments, or who are sponsoring these bills and things like that, these corporate interests are the same ones that are going to fix the problem. Okay? So the problem that they created through their political maneuvering are the same people that are going to fix the problems. Okay, so the Hegelian dialectic: problem, reaction, solution. Create a problem, have the people go, oh my God, we've got to do something, because the media feeds that fear. And, oh, but don't worry, we have the solution. And the solution is that they're going to make money from as well. Now, this is, I'm going to hear people say, but that's capitalism, Chris. That's how it works. That's capitalism. No, I'm afraid that is not capitalism. And this is where we get stuck. This is the argument that we keep on getting stuck on. I've argued this point with many socialists and communists who say, well, socialism and communism is the way to go, Chris. What they fail to recognise is that that's not capitalism. That is crony capitalism. That is capitalism that is, it's not the best or the cheapest, or the best product or the cheapest product, or how capitalism would work if it was left. That is crony capitalism, in that governments are now saying this is the product we're going to use, not being the best or the cheapest or whatever it is, but because that's the biggest sponsor for their party or their political campaign or what have you. So these corporate interests are buying influence over politicians who make the rules or the laws that we all live under. So the corporations are making their own rules and making sure that they have a monopoly on the technology, the information, and how we live through their idea of how the world should be. Okay, so then we take it a step further. So we have these corporations that have free rein to do whatever they want, and politicians are making laws based on what the corporations tell them to do. And then we have the media mouthpiece, the propaganda machine, that tells us all that this is the best option we have. Okay, you're following me along? So we have a problem that's created by these same corporations sponsoring the government to create the laws that allow them to create the problem in the first place. And then we have the same politicians that say, well, we need to fix the problem, and we're going to entrust that to these corporations that created the same problem. And the media mouthpiece screams it at us, that message, that propaganda at us, and tells us this is the way we're going to fix it. Firstly, they make us fearful of the problem. So we have an environment, the physical environment that we inhabit, the reality, is being poisoned. Our air is being poisoned through the use of oil and other polluting things that we're using. We have our water is being poisoned through the use of things like fluoride and chlorine, which is not good for you. And we're obviously recycling our toilet water to drink, which is wonderful. And so our air, our water, our food, our food is being sprayed with toxic chemicals, there's residue in all of our food. Has anybody questioned why so many people are allergic to things? Now, I'm a chef. I've been a chef for 35 years. Never in my 35 years have I seen so many people that are allergic to everything. And now it's gluten, bread, bread that we've been eating for 5,000 years. All of a sudden, everyone's allergic to it. Why do you think that is? Now, our air, our food, our water, everything in our environment is being polluted by chemicals and by residues of chemicals and by pollutants, all these kinds of things, by the corporations that are going to fix the problem. Now, if we tie that back to epigenetics, when it said that these genetic markers can be turned on and turned off based on environment and behaviours. So if your environment is being polluted, your physical environment that you live in is being polluted by corporations, then does that make you genetically more disposed to having things like cancer? And I'll answer that question with another question. Why is it that now 1 in 2 people is getting cancer? Interesting thought, no? But let's take it a step further, okay? Because that's what I do. I like to examine these, in depth as much as I can. With the negative imagery, the negative messaging, the environment that we live in, where we're constantly bombarded with these messages through our screens, through our communication, through our interaction with other people. The negativity, the divisiveness, the way that our society is structured, the guilt, all the negative emotions, are they being triggered right now through an event or through a how best to word this to make sure I'm not going to put myself in trouble, through what we're living through, that we have been for the past 18 months now? Is that a positive or a negative thing? And who's driving that? Who or what is driving that? Now, there's lots of different facets to this, okay? We have governments, of course, because they're trusting the science that's been bought and paid for. And, you can say, no, that's not right, or you can argue the point with me, but who funds the science that is settled? Who funds that? You have the same corporations that are producing products that we're not allowed to talk about, those things. They're funding the science that's telling everyone that the science is settled. So is that bought and paid for? And who gets the platform to spread that message? Which scientists are put out front that are able, they're allowed to speak on the subject, or these subjects, not the people who disagree with the current dogma, but we have a very small group of people that have been funded by these same corporations. When we talk about the medical overseers, if you like, the things like the CDC and the FDA, there's a revolving door through these corporations to the very governing body that's supposed to govern how they operate. Okay, so the science being settled, and the only people allowed to talk about it are those people that have been funded by that science that's settled, kind of leads you to the point that makes you think that maybe the science isn't settled, or maybe the science is corrupted by money and funding, because who's going to fund a lab that goes against the companies that are making billions of dollars? Now, if you say, well, the government should fund it, the governments are bought by the same corporations. They're sponsors. They're the people who are, because it costs millions and millions of dollars to get a political campaign going. And in order to raise that kind of money, where does that come from? And what do they want in return? Okay, so you see where I'm going with this, okay? So, with this messaging that we're getting, it's all negative, coming through the media, through science, through education. It's all a negative imagery. It's all negative messaging that influences you through your emotional state. Now, when we talk about our environment, we are part of our environment, and our emotions play a massive, massive part of that creation of that environment, and our creation of our reality that we experience as reality. So if your negative messaging, negative emotional state also plays a part in whether those genes are turned on or are turned off, your DNA sequence, part of that DNA sequence is turned on or turned off, does that not play a part in our health, our mental well-being, our health, and the state of this reality that we live in? So now that we've gone through all that, and you sort of have an idea of where I'm going with this, do you? I hope. What's the solution? Is there one? Is there a solution to this? I mean, do we all have a part to play in this? And if we do, what is it? What do we do? Because if you've been here for any period of time at all, you would have known that the diversity of the subjects that I speak about, there's always a common thread that runs through the whole lot. Because in my life, I've read every self-help book that you can read. I mean, you name it, I've read it. Some absolute wonders. Conversations with God. Then that's Neil deGrasse Tyson. No, not Neil deGrasse Tyson. What am I saying? Neil Donald Walsh. Sorry, not Neil deGrasse Tyson. He wouldn't write something as brilliant as that. TheMatrix by Greg Braden. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Lots of them. Lots and lots and lots. And they're all the same. It's all the same messaging, but coming at it from a slightly different angle. Like these talks that I do, I talk about generally the same thing, but from a different angle to try and make it so that you might not get the messaging through one video, but if something else might trigger you and go, oh, okay, I get it, I see it now. Now, the reason I'm doing this one today is that the people, the entities, let's put it that way, the entities that are controlling this messaging that we're getting know that we are influenced emotionally, spiritually, physically, through our environment, through our behavior, through our physical environment as well, and through our emotional and mental environment, where they know this. This is they've been working on these kind of subjects for a long, long time. The Nazis were doing it in World War II. And if you think the Nazi doctors were taken care of after the Second World War, no, the Nazi scientists, even including the ones who were doing the experiments, the psychological tests and the physical the things that they were doing, torturing people, if you think that they were taken out after the Second World War, you're delusional. You haven't done your history. Even though history is a lie, I've mentioned that many, many times. What you need to understand, through Operation Paperclip, those same scientists were brought to America. Some went to work at NASA, and others, well, where did they go? So this psychological operation that's happening as we speak, we are all part of, is designed to keep you in a negative fear state for a reason. To control you through that state and to control how many people are not going to be here anymore. Okay? Now, I'll quantify that just a little bit further. When you're in a fear state, you make poor decisions because you will follow the guidance of someone. Even if you don't fully believe it, you'll still follow that guidance because what if? And you know how many times I've heard that, but what if? But what if I don't do this, and what if? Now, I'm sure you've heard that before as well. And it's there designed deliberately. And there are entities that know this and they're running the operation. Now, without trying to blow anyone's mind too much, there are, how can I best put this? the entities, the beings, the demons, whatever you want to call them, that would do this to humanity, have no empathy. They have nothing attaching them to humanity. Nothing at all. So to call them non-human would be accurate. Okay, that's as far as I'll go down that road. But they are deliberately manipulating us for a means to make sure that a lot of us will not be here anymore. Okay, is the easiest way I can put that, is to reduce our population through our own poor decisions made through fear. Okay, it's deliberate, 100% deliberate. But can we offset that? Of course we can. Now, support communities where we can support each other and share information that benefits us all, and changing our mindset and our thinking and our behaviors can influence our genetic markers. So we get to, if we choose to, can decide whether we're healthy or whether we're not, using our thoughts, our speech, our actions, and the way that we interact with each other, and our emotional state to influence our health. Now, information like this is going to be jarring to some people, and I understand that, but you need to understand this is a scientific study called epigenetics. Go and look for yourself. So if you know that you can influence your health and your well-being through your thought and your actions, your words, and the interactions you have with people, what are you going to do? You need to be part of communities that are going to lift you up spiritually. They're going to lift you up emotionally. They're going to lift you up, they're going to make you think, because thinking is what's going to change things. Now, I'm part of an amazing community, a Redpill community. There's a guy who built a platform called redpills.tv, a guy called Josh, amazing guy, brilliant intellect. He's bringing a community together of free thinkers, and he questions everything, and he brings on amazing guests onto the channel, onto his programs. Have a look, because to be part of a community like that, this community has welcomed me with open arms. They're an amazing bunch of people. They support and encourage people to think, and by changing the way you think, if you can influence your own health, then what are you thinking? And what are you going to do about it? Be part of a community. Get together. If you're not part of a community get people part of a community. Share information that resonates with you. Share information that you think resonates with other people. And get to be part of a community and support each other and change the way that you think, change the way that you feel, and change your environment and your behavior, and you can influence your own health and well-being. And that's the message for today. So a big shout out to everybody who's taken the time to look at this, to share it, to watch it. I really appreciate it. I'm humbled by how many people are involved in this, and I'm humbled that I am welcomed into these kind of communities, that we're able to share information that benefits other people and can influence us all positively by doing what we're doing. So keep doing it. As I always say in these talks, get out into the world, do good and be good, and you can change the world and your internal world through your thoughts, your actions, and your emotional state. What are you waiting for? Go out there and do it. You can change the world, and you can change your own world and your own health through this, and what you share and what you think. Thank you all very much for being here. I love you all. I really appreciate you taking the time to take a walk with me today. And join me again. And thank you so much for being here. Look out for yourself. Look out for each other. I look forward to seeing you real soon. Take care. Ciao for now.